Hi, and welcome to Section 1, Functions in R. In this section, we'll take a look at creating R functions, matching arguments, and understanding environments. We would then work with lexical scope, closure, and infix operators. Lastly, we would learn about replacement function, handling errors, and debugging function. Now we move on to the first video of this section, creating R functions and arguments. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create R functions and how to pass different kinds of arguments to our defined function. The R language is a collection of functions. A user can apply built-in functions from various packages to their project, or they can define a function for a particular purpose. If you're new to the R language, you can find a detailed introduction, language history, and functionality on the official R site, that is r-project.org. When you're ready to download and install R, please connect to the comprehensive R archive network cran.r-project.org. From here, you'll have to download R for your system. You can select your country here and proceed to download. Since I've already done that, let's go to R. In R, the function usually takes this form. Function name is the name of the function, and arg1 and arg2 are arguments. Inside the curly braces, we can see the function body, where a body is a collection of a valid statement, expression, or assignment. At the bottom of the function, we can find the return statement, which passes expression back to the caller and exits the function. Using this, we can now create two R functions, addNum and addNum2. Here, we've created our very first R function, addNum. The addNum function is in standard function syntax, which contains both body and return statement. addNum function x, y. S is x plus y. Return s. Here I've passed the argument 3, 7, where 3 is x and 7 is y. Therefore, the result is 10. However, you don't necessarily need to put a return statement at the end of a function. We can also define our function without a return statement. Let's create addNum2 function, which itself will return the last expression back to the caller. addNum2 function xy, x plus y. Now let's pass the values for x and y and see what the result is. So I'm adding 3 and 7. Here's our answer, 10. Nice. You can view the definition of a function by typing the function name. So here's the definition of function addNum2. Finally, we can use body and formals to examine the body and formal arguments of a function. We can use Ctrl-L to clear screen. To view the composition of the function, simply type the function name on the interactive shell. Body, name of our function, addNum2. Then formals, addNum2. Those are variables x and y. Now, argument of our function x, y. So there we have it. Pretty cool, isn't it? If you want to see the documentation of a function in R, you can use the help function or simply type question mark in front of the function name. For example, if we want to examine the documentation of the sum function, we would do this. Here you get all the help related to sum. You can also try this. Now let's take a look at arguments. In R functions, the arguments are the input variables supplied when you invoke the function. We can pass the argument, named argument, argument with default variable, or unspecified numbers of argument into functions. Let's start with default argument. Create a function called default ag with two formal arguments, x and y. Here we give a default value to y, that is 5. Then we multiply y by 2 and add it to s. Then we make a function call by passing 3 to default arg. It passes 3 to x and 5 to y in the function and should return 13. Our answer is 13. Awesome, it works. Besides passing a scalar as the function input, we can pass a vector to the function. For example, default arg1 is to 3. Here we see output is a vector. It takes the value of x as 1, 2, and 3. Moving on, we can see how arguments bind to the function. When calling a function by passing an argument without a parameter name, the function binds the passing value by position. Take this for example. Default arg3, 6. The answer is 15. The first argument, 3, matches to x, and 6 matches to y, and it returns 15. Great! Furthermore, we can use an argument as a control statement. Here we specify 3 formal arguments, x, y, and type, in which the type argument has the default value defined as sum. Next, we specify the value for the type argument as a condition in the if-else control flow. That is, when we pass sum to type, it returns the summation of x and y. When we pass mean to type, it returns the average of x and y. When we pass any value other than sum and mean to the type argument, it returns the product of x and y. Now let's pass the values for our argument 3 and 5. The output is 8. That is sum. For mean, the output is 3, which is the average. And for a known function, 15 is the output, the product of 3 and 5. Lastly, we can pass an unspecified number of arguments to the function using the ellipses notation. Let's start programming x plus 2, ellipses y into 2. Sum x, y, and unspecified argument. In this example, if we pass only 3 and 5 to the function first passes 3 to x and 5 to y. Then it adds 2 to x, multiplies y by 2, and sums the value of both x and y. And thus, the answer is 15. However, if we pass more than 2 arguments to the function will also sum the additional parameters. If we pass multiple values 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, the answer should be 42. Here we go. Great. That marks the end of this video. In this video, we created basic R functions and passed different kinds of arguments to our defined function. Awesome! In the next video, we'll take a look at understanding environments.